Hi once again, everyone. It is Eric here with another edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. Even if you're not a geek, hopefully you'll find this video to be informative, enjoyable, and hopefully not too long tonight. Our weather actually pretty simple over the next few days, but as always, we have some interesting things to talk about here on Earth, and we're even going to take a look at other planets tonight, just for fun. Real quick recap of the precipitation through the first 23 days of May. Now, we did register a trace at the airport this morning. We had a little mist this morning, but otherwise, we've had basically nothing on Wednesdays in May. Every other day has featured some rain at some point as far as days of the week go, but Wednesdays have been our dry day this month. Overall, it's been a pretty wet month compared to the average. At the Youngstown Ward Airport, 3.19 inches worth of rain, just shy of a half an inch more than average through the first 23 days of the month. Now, it turned out to be a beautiful day today, but of course the whole day was not like that. We started this morning with some clouds. It was murky looking, even a little mist and drizzle, but then, just as I told you about yesterday, by midday, early afternoon, things would clear up, and it turned into just a sensational spring day and spring afternoon and evening. I mean, it is just about perfect outside this evening. Low humidity, nice dry air mass, and sunshine and comfortable temperatures. That was looking up at the clouds. Let's look down at the clouds from above on our high-res GOES 16 satellite here, showing that stratocumulus deck fading away as we headed towards the midday and afternoon hours. All right, a little bit of fun here. Let's take a look at Mars for a change. Mars has seasons just like Earth, and actually the seasons tend to be sort of similar to our seasons on Earth in terms of the length. Now, the length of the seasons on Mars is, generally speaking, longer than our seasons here on Earth. There's also more of a variance as far as the length goes. In other words, our seasons all tend to be about 3 months or so, roughly. On Mars, some of the seasons are as long as 6 months, some are as short as a couple of months, and the reason for that, Mars has an elliptical, much more elliptical orbit around the sun than Earth does, and so sometimes Mars is really far away from the sun, sometimes it's quite a bit closer, where our distance from the sun varies as we make our trip around the sun, but it doesn't vary all that much. Anyway, yesterday on the southern hemisphere of Mars, it was the start of spring. And the southern hemisphere is where the Mars Curiosity rover roves. That's what's pictured here. Now, it may be a little bit surprising that, on Mars during the day when the sun is shining in the springtime, temperature's not too bad. Now, you can't breathe. That's the bad news. There's very little atmosphere on Mars, but the air temperature gets up to about 40 as a general average. But with that thin, almost non-existent atmosphere, once the daylight hours are done, big time changes. It gets down to about 100 below zero overnight on Mars in the southern hemisphere. So definitely huge, huge variances thanks to the very tenuous atmosphere on Mars. Here on Earth, we have, of course, a perfect atmosphere to sustain life, and tomorrow is going to be a good day to be alive. It's going to be just a fantastic Thursday. 82. It's going to be warmer than today. Not near the record of 88, but still way above average, of course. 14 minutes, 46 minutes of daylight. We are a few weeks away, a little shy of a month away from the longest days of the year, of course, right around the summer solstice. High pressure zips off to the east tonight. Might start with just a touch of river valley fog tomorrow morning. Don't think it lasts very long. Fog at this time of the year typically doesn't last long because the sun is up so early and the sun is so strong. As that high slips off tomorrow, again, just a bright and sunny afternoon. Now, generally a light easterly flow tomorrow. As we go into the day on Friday, notice our wind barbs here, if you look carefully. A little more of a west-southwest direction. The dew points are going to start coming up on Friday, and I think that trend definitely continues into Saturday. Now, south of Interstate 70 especially, there could be a random thunderstorm before Friday is through, but I think as our atmosphere moistens up on Saturday, I wouldn't be totally shocked if a renegade shower or storm occurred before the day is through. But the bottom line for Saturday is most of the day is dry, and it's probably the hottest day of the year so far. Great day to find some water and cool off on Saturday. Let's take a look at the dew points. Again, creeping up on Friday, more so Saturday, and then it just looks muggy through the end of the holiday weekend and even beyond the holiday weekend and into the middle of next week. Our Memorial Day holiday weekend forecast. Boy, it's going to be a hot weekend. Let me get out of the way here. We have 87 Saturday, maybe just a few degrees cooler because of a higher chance of wet weather Sunday, but then right back to 87 on Monday. And for all intents and purposes, all 3 days will feel about the same. It's going to be well up into the 80s. It's going to be muggy. We're going to be talking about the heat index probably flirting with 90 from time to time. So again, even though our rain chances might be highest Sunday, splitting hairs a little bit here, this is all going to be fairly disorganized stuff. There's going to be plenty of dry time if you have outdoor plans over the upcoming weekend. It's that time of the year. A lot of graduation parties and all sorts of stuff going on Memorial Day weekend, and the weather, for the most part, other than it being hot, will cooperate. 87 is our forecast for Monday, just a few degrees shy of the warmest Memorial Day on record set just 6 years ago. Back in 2012, it was 90. Look at more recent years. Last year it was 78. We had some 80s 3 years in a row from 2014 through 2016. Last year we had a little rain, but overall, Memorial Days have been fairly dry. Don't really see a deluge here on Memorial Day going back through 2013. Our wettest Memorial Day on record, 96. Late May of 96 was a tough stretch. It was cool and damp a lot of the time. I graduated from high school back then, and graduation parties and everything, just the weather wasn't great around Memorial Day that year, back in 1996. All right. I told you last night we'd talk a little bit about the summer forecast before we go this evening, and for our purposes, this will cover the months of June, July, and August. Not going to be as detailed on this as I am in the winter forecast. The summer forecast tends to be, a little less dramatic than the winter forecast. Of course, we're not talking about snow and things like that. Here's generally what we expect. I expect a pretty average summer temperature-wise. Now, it likely starts out pretty hot, first day or two of June. And then probably a little more seasonable after the first couple of days of June. But I think we're going to see some fairly typical variances in our temperatures over the summer season. One difference from last year might be we had some pretty intense heat at the end of summer last year, into August and especially into September. And even though this forecast really doesn't count September, I think the overall idea is a late season heat surge like we had last year is pretty unlikely this year. As far as rain goes, I'm expecting near to maybe slightly above average rainfall. I think odds do not favor a dry summer. It'll either be a typical summer or maybe a little wetter than average, but I don't see much in the data that suggests it's going to be a dry summer where we're talking about drought conditions and that sort of thing. That doesn't seem very likely. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail on what is behind this forecast. Kind of the same principles as the winter forecast. We look at global oscillations, what's going on in the oceans. Probably heading into an El Nino as we get into the fall and winter time. We just got done with La Nina. Probably switching to an El Nino later this year. That might play a small part in the summer forecast, but that's El Nino, La Nina has more of an impact on the cold season forecasts for us than the warm season. All right, this is it for Weather Geeks for a while. I am on vacation. So no weather for Weather Geeks until it's something like June 6th, 5th? The first Tuesday of June, whatever that is. That's when I'll be back. So I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks as always for watching this video and being patient with me as I ramble on some nights about the weather. Have a great Wednesday night, everyone, and I'll be on the news tomorrow evening on 21 News at 6 and 11. Hope to see you then.